Hi, this is Mrs. Jones, and today we're learning about the Pythagorean Theorem. And I have a little song that goes with it, and it goes like this. Pythagorean Theorem, Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b form a right angle. A and B form a right angle. C is the hypotenuse. C is the hypotenuse. Pythagorean theorem. All right, so now let's get started taking some notes on the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, here we go. If you will please look at your sheet that you were given, and we're going to go through and fill in the blanks and talk about it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the parts of a right triangle. And these are the parts. We have A, B, and C. And your A and B sides are called the legs. And the legs are the two sides that form the right angle, A and B. Side C is called the hypotenuse. Will everyone please say hypotenuse? And the hypotenuse is spelled Hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the side opposite the right angle, is the hypotenuse. Okay, the Pythagorean theorem is used to find the missing side length on a right triangle. And the Pythagorean theorem only works on a right triangle. And a right triangle is a triangle that has one right angle. And the formula, like we talked about just a second ago in my little song, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, now we're going to work on proving right triangles. And this is what it says. Given three side lengths, you're going to use the formula to show whether or not they represent the sides of a right triangle. So your answer is going to really be yes or no. Could these be the three side measurements of a right triangle? Okay, to do this, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. Now, you look at this and you go, well, how do I know what's A, what's B, and what's C? Well, the only thing that really makes a difference is the hypotenuse. If you will write that again here. And the hypotenuse, which is side C, opposite of the right triangle, is always going to be the longest side. So let's go through here and let's underline each hypotenuse. So in these sides it would be the 17. In number 2 it would be the good. In number 3 it would be the 25, yes. And in number 4 it would be the 18. Great. All right, so now your A and your B, this can be A, this can be B, or you can switch those. It does not matter which side is A or B, because it doesn't matter what order you add numbers, you always get the same thing. Okay, so we're going to use this to formula. So let's write it down here. Every time we do the Pythagorean theorem, we're going to write it down. Okay, so I'm going to make my side A is going to be 8. So I'm going to put 8 squared. It's down a little bit closer. My B then is going to be 15 squared. And my C is 17 squared. And my whole point here is to see if this side does indeed equal that side. And you can use your calculators here if you need to. So first we're going to do 8 squared, which is 64, plus 15 squared, which is 225, equals 17 squared, which is 289. Now we're going to add this side, and we get 289. And we already have this side as 289. Since this is indeed equal to that, then yes, these are the 3 sides of a right triangle. Okay, let's try this one together. First step, everyone, every time is to write down the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, I'm going to do 5 as my a, so 5 squared plus 9 squared equals a 12 squared. So 5 squared is 25, plus 9 squared is 81, and 12 squared is 144. I'm going to add this side, and I'm going to get 106 is equal to 144. Well, obviously 106 is not equal to 144. So no, these could not be the 3 measurements of the 3 sides and it be a right triangle. All right, I want you now to do numbers 3 and 4 on your own, and then we'll go over them. Do 3 and 4 at this time. All right, let's go over them. You have a squared plus b squared equals c squared in both of them. Write that down every single time. Even if it gets old, I don't care. We're going to substitute in our values. Remember, c is always going to be the longest side. You then want to square your numbers. Add these two. And yes, 625 is equal to 625. So yes, these could be the 3 sides of a right triangle. Let's try this one. 10 squared plus 14 squared equals 18 squared. 100 plus 196 equals 324. This together is 296 equals 324. Well, obviously, no, those don't equal each other. So no, those could not be the 3 sides of a right triangle. All right, now we're going to do finding a missing side. And this is a really big part of the Pythagorean theorem. It says, use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side length. And we're going to round our answers to the nearest tenth. First step, write down the Pythagorean theorem. Now, I want you to look and see which side are you solving for. Well, we're solving for this side. It is opposite of the right angle. So that means this side is going to be side C, because that would be the hypotenuse. This is A and B. Either this is A and this is B, or this is A and this is B. Doesn't matter what order. So let's just say I put 7 squared plus 8 squared. I don't know this, so I'm going to put a C squared. Go ahead, when you use the variables, go ahead and use your A, your B, or your C, not that actual X. Okay, so now let's do what we can. So 7 squared is 49, plus 8 squared, 64, and you just bring that down. Okay, let's add, and we get 113 is equal to with C squared. Now, I don't want to know the length of C squared. I just want to know the length of C. So we have to figure out, well, how do you go from C squared to C? Well, you have to do the inverse. And the inverse of squaring something is to do the square root. Well, if you find the square root of this side, you have to do the square root of this side. Because in an equation, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. and that gives you a long decimal, but we're rounding to the 10th place, so that gives us 10 and 6/10, and that would be in inches because that would be our measurement here. Okay, well, let's look at number 6. First step, write the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now remember, A and B form a right angle, and C is the hypotenuse, so this is side C. I would like for you now to try this one on your own, following the same steps as we did in problem 5. Do problem 6 at this time. All right, I'm going to put 15 for A and 18 for B. It would be perfectly fine if you did those the other way, 18 squared plus 15 squared. It doesn't matter the order of A and B. So I'm going to square them. Now I'm going to add them. I don't want to know c squared, I just want to know c, so I'm going to do the inverse. If I do square root on this side, I have to do it over there. I'm rounding to the 10th place, so I get 23.4. All right, let's now turn to the back. Okay, let's look at problem 7. First step is to identify which sides A, B, C. Okay, so opposite of the right angle is always side C. Your sides A and B form a right angle. So let's just say this is side A and this is side B. We could have made that A and that B. Doesn't matter. All right. After we identify our sides, let's write down the Pythagorean theorem. Great. Now let's substitute what we know. Okay, we don't know what side A is, so you put A square. You always square whatever side you're trying to find because that's part of the formula. Plus, I'm going to put in B, which is 3. I'm going to square it. And I'm going to plug in the measurement of C, and I'm going to square it, because you square every side. Okay, so that stays A squared. 3 squared is 9, and 11 squared is 121. All right, I want to get A over here by itself, because I want my final answer to be A is equal to whatever value. So in order to do that, I have to move this over here. So it's positive, so I'm going to do the inverse, and I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. And that gives me A squared is equal to 112. All right. I don't want A squared, I want A, so my last step is to find the square root of 112. And that's going to give me 10 and 6/10 centimeters. Sorry about that. And I'm going to go back to the front real quick because I forgot to write feet here. And it's important that you always, sorry it's blurry there, that you always include the measurement. Okay, so let's go back over here now. Let's look at number 8. Okay, what's the first step? Good. You need to identify which side's A, which side's B, and which side's C. Okay, opposite of the right angle is the hypotenuse, which is side C. A and B form the right angle. So these are your A and your B. They form that right angle. Okay, next it's time to write the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So let's plug in what we know. So we have A squared here, because I'm trying to find A. So I keep it A and I square it, plus B is 24, and I square it. And c is 30, so I square it. Okay, so now let's go through and let's find out. 24 squared is 576. 30 squared is 900. Once again, this is pretty easy because these are all adding, and the opposite of adding is subtraction. So you're going to subtract 576 from both sides. And I do expect you to write down all of these steps every time. Don't want to know a squared, I want to get to a, so I'm going to do the square root of both sides, and that gives me 18 yards. Okay, I'd now like for you to do problem 9 on your own, and then we'll go over it. Do problem 9 at this time. Okay, the first step is to figure out which side's A, which side's B, and which side's C. Okay, C is always opposite of the right angle. A and B always form your right angle. And this one, I'm going to make that A, I'm going to make that B, because I haven't done one like that. Next, let's write down the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, my A is 12. Plus, my B I don't know, so that's going to be B squared, equals C, which is 20. You have to square it every time. So 12 squared is 144. Bring down the B squared. 20 squared is 400. Time for inverse operation. That's a positive 144. So I'm going to subtract it from both sides. And that gives me B squared. That's equal to 256. Last step, to make it B, you do the square root of both sides, and I get 16 inches. All right, the last part, these are word problems. And word problems, the first thing you have to do is you have to draw a picture. So that's what we're going to do every time. We're going to draw the picture, and then we have to figure out which side's A, which side's B, and which side's C. All right. It says find the length of a rectangle that has a diagonal of 25 feet and a width of 15 feet. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is let's all draw ourselves a rectangle. Okay, it's talking about how it has a diagonal of 25 feet. So let me draw a diagonal, and let's label it 25. We'll put feet at the end. And it has a width of 15 feet. So really I could put 15 here or here. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. And then what I like to do is find where the right angle is. So obviously our right angle is right here. So now we want to find that side. So let's find out if that's side A, side B, or side C. So here we go. The side opposite of the right angle is always side C. So that means these are A and B. So let's say I'm going to find side A, and this is B. Okay, let's write the Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is what I'm trying to find, so it's going to stay A squared. B, 15 squared. C, 25 squared. Okay, stays A squared. 15 squared is 225. 25 squared is 625. All right, I want to isolate that variable, so I'm going to do inverse operation Subtract 225 from both sides. And that gives me a squared equals 400. Last step to get it a, you have to do the inverse of squaring, and you have to do the square root on both sides. And your answer then is 20 feet. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's draw this one. You're going to see a lot of ladder problems. So make sure you are listening to what happens here. Okay. A 20-foot ladder is leaned against a wall. If the base of the ladder is 8 feet from the wall, how high up the wall will the ladder reach? Okay, so let's first draw a wall. There's a wall. All right, if you have a ladder leaned against a wall, your ladder is going to form a diagonal like this. You don't walk up a ladder that's stuck straight on the wall. Okay, it says a 20-foot ladder. So this ladder is 20 feet. Is leaned against a wall. If the base of the ladder, which is here's the base of the ladder, is 8 feet from the wall. Here's the wall. It's 8 feet from the wall. How high up the wall will the ladder reach? So how high up will it reach? So we want to find that side. Okay, so I like to look for my right angle. So it's right here. Okay, I'm going to stop now, and I'd like to see if you now can solve and find how high up the ladder reaches. Please do problem 11 now. All right, so we should have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is the hypotenuse, and it's always opposite of the right angle. These sides, either one can be A and either one can be B. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the order you add, you get the same answer. Okay, let me square them. Okay, the inverse of adding is to subtract. That gives me a squared equals 336. Do the square root of both sides, and you get A equals 18 3/10 feet. Okay, on this one, perfect advice for you. So please make sure you're listening, because y'all are going to have some like this coming up too. Okay, if you start reading it and you have directions in it, one thing I would do is think about never eat soggy waffles. Figure out which side you're north, your east, your south, and your west. Okay, so here we go. George rides his bike 9 miles south, so we know we're going to head down. Then 12 miles east, so we're going to go that way. How far is he from his starting point? All right, if we know the first thing he's going to do is head south, let's make his starting point kind of up here high. So just make a little mark. That's the starting point. All right, here we go. George is going to go 9 miles south. So then let's put a 9. Then he's going to turn. He's going to make a right turn and go 12 miles east. That's towards the E. They want to know at this time from here, how far is he from his starting point? So they want to know directly how far is he. So we want to find that side. All right, first step, find the right angle. It's here. Every time, opposite of the right angle is C, your hypotenuse. So these are your A and your B. Will you please solve for C at this time? Okay, let's finish this last problem. Here we go. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Your A and your B. And we are trying to find C. 9 squared is 81. 12 squared is 144. Just bring that down. Add those two together. We want to know C, not C squared. So we're going to find the square root of both sides. And that gives me 15, and it's in miles. And that is the Pythagorean theorem. So we have Pythagorean theorem, Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and B form a right angle. A and B form a right angle. C is the hypotenuse. C is the hypotenuse. Pythagorean theorem.